It's supposed to be cold, maybe rainy. What does that do to your passing game?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think, I think that we found through the years that, it doesn't really have that big of an impact on throwing the football. I think probably the biggest determining factor on whether, throwing the ball or not is usually wind. We've never found that the rain, unless it's, like a monsoon or a hurricane or something, makes that big of a difference. And same thing with cold. So, I think we'll get there and we'll see and all that. But yeah, I think, anytime that there's weather conditions, I've always felt like that, you know where you're going. And so I always felt like it was an advantage in some ways for the offense.
How do you try and replicate what Navy does? I mean, I don't know if in previous stops you've had teams that kind of do similar.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, you know how we do. We practice a little bit in spring camp, or spring training rather, and then we practice during fall camp for triple option stuff, and then we do it every Sunday. And so you try to just get them comfortable, seeing it and just thinking, that way. And it's one of those things that if you have 3 practices to get ready for, I think it's really almost impossible to do. But if you do it consistently, it just gives you a better chance. It's still really hard to stop, even if you do it that way. But in terms of replicating it, you really can't. I mean, it just happens so much faster and it's crisper, and we just want anybody that's got the decision-making quickness and nobody that blocks like their offensive lineman. So it's just it's a unique experience.
Do you try to replicate it, or?
We do. Yeah, we do. We try. Yeah, we try. We've played a bunch of different people at quarterback, and faster guys and quicker guys. I mean, Steph McClure, our GA's played a bunch of quarterback. Forrest has been dressing out and playing some quarterback during team. He's been doing that for a while, and we've used Mike Salerno. We've used, we've used a bunch of different guys to try to just replicate some of the speed and quickness that we'll see. But like I said, it's hard to do.
So much of the conversation about Navy is the triple option, but they have added some more passing. How do they use it, and what do they do best in the passing game?
Well, I think the thing that's probably different, now is they're just better at throwing the ball. And so what used to happen is, they would get, they'd suck you in, get behind you, and they may or may not complete it, in the past. And now they're completing those balls, and so they're getting a tremendous amount of big plays out of their passing game. So they're really efficient when you start looking at their yards per completion and attempt, and it's because a lot of those are really big plays. And so that's the one thing that we've got to do a good job of, is not letting them get behind us and make any easy plays, and make sure those balls are contested when they throw them.
I know that the AP poll and the coaches poll don't really matter, but obviously that CFP poll does matter.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
curious what your thoughts were on not being included in.
Yeah, I think I don't think that matters now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it obviously carries a lot of weight in the end. But I mean, we got plenty of opportunities to move up just based on who we play. And I think that when it's all said and done, we'll be fine.
Did you get a chance to watch any of the Notre Dame Navy game at all?
I didn't see much of it live. Obviously, I've seen the film, but didn't see much of the game live. Saw the opening series, and I had kids stuff that day. My daughter had a softball tournament, so I was doing some of the dad stuff on that Saturday that I don't normally get to do. So I didn't get to see it firsthand, but obviously seen the film.
Watching the film, what did you learn from Notre Dame that might help you just take out?
Well, I think the big thing Notre Dame did is they just executed really well. It kind of goes back to what we talked about before. Their quarterback completed a lot of big balls, and they were, Navy covered them pretty well, and they just made plays. And so the thing that I was really impressed with is Notre Dame did it a couple of different ways. I think their opening drive was 14 or 15 plays, which is hard to do against Navy's defense. They just show you so many different looks that they're typically going to do a good job of making a negative play or two, or creating a turnover, or creating pressure, that kind of thing. And Notre Dame strung together a nice opening drive, and then made some big plays on offense and created some turnovers. And so it was one of those deals where they just had a ton of momentum, and sometimes it snowballs a little bit, and that's kind of the way it seemed like that it happened in that game. But I was impressed with Notre Dame. I thought that they played really hard. I was impressed with their offensive line, and I thought they made plays on the ball, you know, and you know, Navy played really hard. That's the one thing they did consistently. But you know, Notre Dame took advantage of those opportunities.
What did you think of just the work that Garrett Choate's put in? I know that he's obviously up for that award, and
Yeah.
you know, do you feel like at some point down the line he could be someone that actually is more of a contributor for you guys?
Yeah, Choate. I mean, the thing about Choate is he's been, you know, probably our last 2 years has been our best special teams player. You know, he just is really consistent. You know, does some of the hardest jobs on special teams. You know, is the guy that, you know, has been a guy that's run down on kickoff, and sometimes, you know, we scheme him where he's getting double teamed and doing different things. You know, and it's covered punts, and we just done all the stuff that you know, has been on kickoff return, been really good in a you know, pretty important blocking role on kickoff return, and you know, has played some big snaps for us on defenses too. So he's been a really valuable guy. I think sometimes, you know, people undervalue some of those special teams reps, and those are really important reps. And he's, you know, he gives us great effort. He plays with an edge on special teams, and has really been a big contributor on that side of the ball. And you know, and that's all about effort, and you know, and he's kind of got a good special teams body because he's big and physical, but he moves well enough and can play in space, and so you know, he's a good player for us.
Triple option offense, when you're looking at it from a defensive standpoint, a lot of coordinators are looking at 5-tech contain and linebacker bulk, basically.
Yeah, there's
what's that,
there's
like for practice?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to defend it. I mean, that's the thing about it, is I think everybody's kind of got their own way of doing it. The thing that you know, the thing that these guys do such a good job of, you know, Ken and his staff, is, you know, they've been doing this a long time. And so they do a good job of staying one step ahead of you. You know, okay, so they're going to line up, they're going to run these plays, they're going to see how you play it, and then they're going to have a little adjustment. And then, you know, you're going to make an adjustment, and then you're constantly just trying to catch up to them. And they're so varied now in what they do. You know, they've got almost 2 different offenses. They've got the true triple stuff, and then they've got some stuff they run out of the gun that's a little different and a little bit challenging in its own way, and they run that stuff well. And then obviously the improved passing game. And so it's almost like 2 or 3 different offenses put together. And so it's much more varied, you know, than it probably was 10, 12 years ago. And they just do a really good job of, you know, putting pressure on you and staying ahead of you.
Is James Prochet, I know that he accepted the invite to the Shrine Game. I assume you guys still hope at some point he can get into the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
You know how you kind of feel like he's coming down the stretch here. Just what do
you know, I think James has been just such a solid player for us. You know, I mean, he's one of those guys who's missed very few reps in practice. He practices every day. He's been a great, you know, role model for those young receivers to see how he works, and you know, the kind of the work ethic and professionalism he brings every day. You know, I think carries over to the rest of the team, and so I think he's been really important just from that perspective. You know, the thing he's done is he's just such a mature guy. Just his, you know, I think in the last 2 years that's been his biggest gains. I think it's just his mental maturity, and you know, and his kind of emotional stableness is much improved and much better than it was. And I think, again, it's something that for those young guys to see. If you know, if James makes a mistake, it used to bother him, and now he's able to put it behind him and move on. And you know, he's just really productive. I mean, that's the thing. You know, when you talk about guys that are good football players, at the end of the day, it's really about, you know, helping your team win and being productive. And he does that as consistently as any receiver that we've had before.
Could he and should he play in the NFL from what you?
Yeah, I think so. I think for sure. Yeah, no, I think he'll have a great opportunity to play. And you know, the NFL is such a weird league. So much of it's kind of right place at the right time, getting on the right team, and you know, and seeing how you're used and all that type of stuff, and how do you fit into their schemes. And but yeah, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he can play in the NFL.
Do you ever think 10 wins would be something that we possibly discuss in the second year?
Oh, I don't know. You know, I thought we'd have a good football team during fall camp, you know, about 2.5 weeks in. And we told our guys then, you know, look, we got a chance to win every game on the schedule, you know. Now, it's one thing to have a chance to do it, it's another thing to do it. But, you know, we felt like we would have a good team, felt like we had a chance. You know, we just had to play well. Pieces had to come together, you know. And if you look at our team, we've stayed pretty healthy. You know, we've had some you know, pretty significant losses, obviously with Richard and Reggie, two of our better players. But just in terms of across the board, we've stayed really pretty healthy. And, you know, that's so important, especially when you don't have quite as much depth. We were just not quite there yet in some spots from a depth point of view. But, you know, I thought it was a possibility. You know how it is, you just kind of, you know, try to put one foot in front of the other and keep getting better and improving and just kind of seeing how it ends up.
You said after East Carolina that you thought your offense still could be sharper and maybe left some points out there, which was a little unusual after putting up 59 points. But now that you and your staff have had a week to break down that film and sort of digest that, what did you want to see improved?
Well, you know, I mean, especially early. You know, I think once we played better in the second half, but we, you know, first half squandered, you know, 2 or 3 scoring opportunities. And I think the one thing that we have not done a very good job of at times is, you know, when we've had a chance to really separate from somebody in a game, you know, maybe in the middle of the first quarter or whatever, you know, we've squandered some opportunities to do that. Sometimes the defense has gotten us a turnover and you know, the offense has sputtered at that point. So, you know, you've got to do a good job of capitalizing on those opportunities. And I think that's the thing that you learn, you know, when you play against Navy. I mean, you're going to have about half as many possessions as you normally do in the game. And so you've got to, you know, they execute so well, they put a lot of pressure on you to execute well. And that's really what it comes down to have a chance to beat a team like this is, you know, you have to take advantage of pretty much every opportunity. You can't have a bunch of penalties, or you can't turn the ball over. You've just pretty much got to execute when you get the ball, and you've got to do the same thing on defense because you're just not going to get that many chances.